Hi everyone, good afternoon. I'm Debbie Wosskow and I'm the co-founder of AllBright. Now, it's quite a technical live today because we've had a lot of incoming that's particularly UK focused, asking if we can run a session on how to understand the financial support being offered to UK businesses during this time of the coronavirus. Now, the heavy caveat for this is that I'm not an accountant and I'm not a lawyer. However, I am a business owner, and everything that I'm going to talk about today are issues and opportunities that we have been exploring at AllBright over the last few weeks. So I'm going to do my best to just go through what our understanding is of what the UK government is offering and what we're doing about it. And I'm happy to take questions with the proviso that anything very technical, I would refer you to the HMRC website where a lot of this is covered. But this is a business owner's take on what we have done. So I'm going to cover the topic in two parts: what to do if you own a business and you employ people, and then what to do if you're self-employed. And it's a huge topic at the moment, but it's also changing on almost a daily basis. So a further caveat to all of this information is that it is correct as of now. Now, the AllBright community is international. So if you're watching from outside the UK, please be aware that the information that I'm sharing today does not apply to you. But during my first live event a few weeks ago, we discussed how to keep your business on track during turbulent times. And I think what came out of that was that there's a real need for no nonsense, which is our style, my style, and in-depth discussion of the financial element of running a business right now. Because as I said last week, and as I'll continue to say every day when I'm talking about business, when I'm thinking about our AllBright business, cash is key. Where it comes from, what are you spending it on, and crucially, what can you stop spending it on? And these points should be on your daily checklist as a business owner. And there's much more on this if you log on to AllBright Connect, as well as follow us on Instagram, because we're covering these topics every day. Now, in the UK, the government is starting to step up, and that is good news. And I appreciate that there are still some big gaps, particularly when it comes to self-employed people. But I wanted to talk you through how you can make the most of what is available. So, housekeeping. If you'd like to ask me a question, please just comment below and I will try my best to get through them all. We also have some pre-submitted questions from our community on AllBright Connect, which I will share. And if you haven't joined AllBright Connect yet, head to allbrightconnect.com after this event to find out more. And if you would like to share what we're talking about today, use the hashtag female founders and at us at AllBright. Right, let's get started. UK business owners with employees. This is exactly the position that Anna and I have found ourselves in at AllBright. We've got an international team, and until recently, we had 3 AllBright members clubs open all day, every day in the US and the UK, and we employed a lot of people and continue to employ a lot of people. So what I want to start with is rates, business rates. In the UK, there is 100% rates relief for 1 year for the retail, leisure and hospitality sector. And so if you operate in that sector, that is 101. Do not pay rates right now. Make sure that you are qualifying for the business rates relief. Small business grant funding. There is a one-off grant of £10,000 for SMEs who are receiving rates relief. So log on to the HMRC website and look first at rates. That's an easy save. If you're in that part of the world, if that is your industry, you shouldn't be paying them. Topic 2, tax relief. HMRC will allow you at the moment to spread business tax payments over a longer period. It will be handled on a case-by-case basis. You will need to speak to them to explore your eligibility, so ring them. Call HMRC and say that you want to find a way to spread your tax payments over a longer period that will save you critical cash now. Do it. VAT payment holidays between the 20th of March and the 30th of June 2020 can be deferred to next year, is our understanding. There is no application required, so this is an easy one. You complete your VAT return as normal. However, if you pay by direct debit, cancel it. Okay, so those are two tax reliefs from HMRC that you can very easily ensure that you qualify for. Now, cash is king. Make sure that you sign up for them. Right, this is slightly more complicated, the coronavirus job retention scheme, and this is something that we have worked through a lot at AllBright over the last week. So if you are in a position of needing to cut costs, and that includes your employees, so you're a business owner that employs people, HMRC introduced last week a grant that allows you to do something called furlough an employee rather than let him or her go. So it prevents you from having to sack people, make them redundant in order to save cash. In real terms, what does it mean? It means that the government will pay 80% of a furloughed employee's wage. And everyone that you employ, all employees, are eligible for this if they have been on the payroll since or before the 28th of February 2020. Now, a sort of real life example here, what we had to do at AllBright was, prior to the date that this was announced, look at some of our team, because we have a very big team, and think about who we might not need in the short term. And that meant that we did make some redundancies. We were immediately able to put those people back on the payroll so that they were eligible to be paid the furlough by HMRC. So even if you have laid people off, they can be repatriated to the business to receive that furlough of up to 80% of their salary. 80% will be paid, but again, the detail is really important here. Up to £2,500 per month. So it is affecting people who have earned that sort of level of salary or more, but they will only be paid £2,500 a month as a maximum, representing 80% or less of their salary. And then it's up to the employer to choose to top up that 80% if they wish. So it's really important. And it makes a huge difference, because it means that your team, even if you are having to cut costs by looking at your headcount, can still be paid. Now, critical here, furloughed workers cannot keep working for you. So effectively, they've been temporarily laid off. That's the right way to think about it. And furloughing an employee can be backdated to the 1st of March 2020 in the UK. And at the moment, all that we know is that the scheme will be available for at least 3 months, and possibly more so, given that none of us know how long this situation is going to last or how long we will be locked down. So those who were made redundant after the 28th of February can be re-employed and placed on furlough. If you need to furlough employees, you will need to submit details of those who have been furloughed to HMRC through a new online portal. Please do check their employment contracts. I am not a lawyer, but do find an employment lawyer. There are employment lawyers on AllBright Connect who are AllBright members, or the team can make some recommendations for you. It's really important that you need to get the consent of employees in order to furlough them. So it sounds complicated. It's something that we have spent a lot of time working on over the last week, and it is probably the most important thing that you can do for your team if you are going through a period of time where you are effectively laying them off. So don't lay them off, furlough them. Now, other relief relating to employees, there's a refund for business and employees required to access statutory sick pay. So you will get the money back that you have to pay out for statutory sick pay during this time. And the government will also cover the furloughed employees' national insurance and pension contributions normally paid by employees, right? So that they will also pick up the tab for your NI and any sick pay at a statutory level that's accrued during that time. That is a lot, I know, and it's complicated, but I think that it's, once you get your head around it, it's incredibly important. If you employ people and you haven't done this, do it now. Right, the business interruption loan scheme. Now, the heavy caveat for this one is that this scheme is very new, and it's something that we are exploring as AllBright, and the guidance is still being shared all the time, and they are expected to make another announcement about this on Thursday. So watch this space. I'll give you the headlines. So what do we know? The headlines are that it will be available to all companies with a turnover of less than 45 million. You can borrow up to £5 million as a normal term loan, an overdraft, invoice finance or asset finance, and you can apply to any lender in the scheme, even if the bank with whom you bank is not participating, and the bank that we currently bank with for AllBright is not participating in the scheme yet. So you've got to check in with your bank. It is in theory a government-backed loan. It should make it easier for you to get through the approval process, and it is interest-free for 12 months. Now, the eligibility criteria, in as much as we understand it, are that you have to be UK-based and you've got to operate within an eligible sector. There's a long list of those, and most of you will, but you must check the small print. And in order to apply, your management accounts must be up to date and in order. Now, the big question and the thing that we are trying to explore as AllBright is whether personal guarantees are required for this loan. And for those of you who followed this in the press, there's a lot of speculation. What is a personal guarantee? It means that Anna and I, as the people who run AllBright, would have to give some sort of personal security over our homes. Now, obviously, that isn't always very attractive for people and for business owners. So the devil is in the detail on this one, and it's something that we are watching this space on. Please also remember that government-backed does not mean risk-free, and the borrower will always remain completely liable for the debt. So what has been reported so far about this loan? Personal guarantees, I've mentioned. The government is backing 80% of the loan, but there's a question mark over the remaining 20%, so where is that coming from? Some banks are looking to secure that 20% by asking directors to offer personal loan guarantees. So this is the you being on the line point. So savings, shares, second homes. And it's a big ask in a really uncertain climate. And quite frankly, it might not be the right offer for you. And the government has promised to give more clarity on this topic of personal guarantees this week. The big four banks have agreed that they won't take personal guarantees for lending below £250,000, but many have not spoken out on this topic yet. So do your research. We will be doing our research. Make sure you speak to your bank. I would do that now, and ask questions, particularly when it comes to personal guarantees. So a couple of other things to think about that we have thought about, and again, it's a moment to ask all the questions. No question is a stupid question right now. Business insurance. Do you have business interruption cover? COVID-19 is what's called a notifiable disease. Check with your insurer if you're covered for this. We're not, unfortunately, but some insurance cover might stretch to this, so check and keep on checking. Rent. I covered this when I was talking about cash flow earlier in the week. We have asked our landlords for rent holidays. That is typical at the moment. If you run a business that has premises, then ask. Rates. I've mentioned already, the retail and leisure industry have the 100% rate relief. If you operate within another sector, then ask. It is worth asking your local council to see what might be possible. Team. If you don't want to furlough your team or team members because you still need them right now, look at a couple of other ways into it. Can you look at reducing their hours? Can you look at reducing their pay? You know, none of these are very palatable, but cash and ensuring that you have a cash flow runway for your business is the most important thing. And then Companies House, for people who are focused on filing their next accounts, which is time consuming, costs money. A 3-month filing extension has been announced. So if you're struggling to get statutory accounts signed off, or you don't want the expense of signing them off right now, you can apply for an extension. So again, lots more things to do with HMRC. Right, that is for the business owner. I hope that I've covered that off in enough detail. I can see some questions coming through. I'm going to talk about self-employed next and then get to some questions towards the end. So the government relief for self-employed is still playing catch up, I think, and in my opinion, there's more help needed. But what does existing support include? Deferred income tax self-assessment until 31st of January 2021. So this is just automatic, no application required. The self-employed income support scheme. So this is available for self-employed people who've lost income due to COVID-19. So this scheme allows you to claim a taxable grant worth 80% of your average monthly profits, not income, from the last 3 years, up to the value of £2,500 per month. So there's been a lot of discussion about what that means. Profits and maxes out at £2,500 a month in the same way as the furlough for employed staff does. So I think they've tried to find a parity there. It will be available for the next 3 months. And it may be extended, and it's open to anyone with an income of up to £50,000. Now, the key point here, much like the furloughing, is that you cannot continue to work whilst claiming this grant. And in order to be eligible, the majority of your income has to come from self-employment, and only those who are already in self-employment and have a tax return for 2019 are able to apply. So there's a bit of a hole there for people who have just started to work for themselves, which has been much discussed. So again, it's not perfect, but it's something. Now, timing is also an issue with the self-employment tax relief. The aim is to pay at the beginning of June. And again, a lot of people have said that this is too late. And I think that the government are looking at this, but currently guidance is beginning of June, backdated 3 months, but HMRC is trying to turn that around faster. If you are eligible, HMRC will contact you directly and they'll ask you to fill out an online form. So it's a case of waiting for that to be incoming. And self-employed statutory sick pay. The government has suspended the minimum income floor for the self-employed, and this means that self-employed can now access universal credit at a rate equivalent to statutory sick pay for employees. So that means that you can get statutory sick pay if you are self-employed. Right, that felt technical, but this is a time, as ever, to really embrace technicalities around money, around cash, around relief, to become a quasi-accountant and lawyer in the way that we have had to do, but do take advice. Okay, a few questions. I think one is just quite a technical question around what happens if you're running a small business. Can you furlough your employees? My understanding is yes, if you're running a business that's employing people, even if it's not very many people, then you can. So please refer to the earlier part of this live talking about how you do it. It's the single most important thing that you can do for your staff to make sure that they're still getting paid some money during this time. Right, other questions. Somebody's asking, how... It's a sort of personal question relating to all of this. I think about the scale of ambition and personal ambition and how do we keep it all going during this time. And Anna and I are doing a lot of lives and for AllBright and for our community through Connect and through Instagram. We're programming multiple events every day because sisterhood works. For those of you who've been into the buildings, that's what we have in Neon in our entrances, and we think that the way that we all get through this is by talking, supporting, sharing information with one another. And I think this topic of getting really comfortable with asking for help, with understanding what help is out there, is critical. And that's one of the ways that Anna and I keep each other going, and doing this sort of thing every day with all of you gives us a massive motivation, and it's the point of AllBright, to keep the community alive. Can startups without revenues yet use the business interruption loan? Again, my understanding is that the loans are on a case-by-case basis, but I think that would be hard, because I think what they're trying to do is to take a typical commercial view on a loan. So speak to your bank. There's so much detail not yet released about these loans. Thursday is meant to be the day, so keep a watch out for that. Someone didn't join from the beginning. Directors giving themselves dividends. Yeah, I think that the technical point there on dividends is that the furloughing does not apply to directors who are paying themselves through dividends. And I think that, again, check the HMRC website, but it becomes complicated to furlough yourself if that is how you've paid yourself. And I think that seems to be it. Any more questions for any more? Right, we will share all of this information on AllBright Connect. I'm here if you have any more anxieties, because it is quite anxious making all of this, anything that you want to understand better. Oh, hang on, a few more coming through before I say goodbye. 1 minute. Okay. Is this a bad time to talk to VCs? It's a difficult time to talk to VCs. I mean, for those of you who follow a lot of VCs on Twitter, something that I read yesterday, I think summarized it well, which is the hot companies also always used to talk about a 3-up, which means in between each round you would expect your valuation to go up 3 times. The equivalent of that now is just flat. And I think valuations are seen to be down 50% on where they were, even a few weeks ago. VCs are saying that they're still investing, but I honestly think if you can possibly, which is why we're doing talks like this, trade through, preserve cash, then that is the best way to get through the next few months and go back to existing investors and friends and family, as we are at AllBright. Are you eligible for anything if you're in a new job? Yes. For the key date here is the 28th of February date for furloughing. And so we had employees at AllBright who were working in the clubs who had only been with us a week or so, but they're still eligible to be furloughed. So check that 28th of February date. Anything else? Which part of AllBright would be the best part if I'm looking for some career coaching, the Academy or Connect? Both. So log on to Connect. The Academy sits behind there and you'll find so much content, and follow us on our Instagram lives. Right, I'm going to say goodbye. I'm with you again later on this week, as is Anna, and we've got a load more lives and other content to come. We are here. Log on to Connect. Read the book, be part of the community, watch the Academy courses, and we've got much more to share with you to make sure that we're keeping the sisterhood, even in solitude, alive. Thank you. Bye, everyone.